Transparent and fair European elections. Almost all political parties have signed a code of conduct before going to the polls in June.
Arrest of ex-intelligence officer Augusto Ott in Austria reveals Russian infiltration.
Peter Byström, second an alternative for Germany's candidate list for the EU elections, denies allegations that claim he took money to spread pro-Russian information.
Did a politician of far-right party Alternative for Deutschland accept money to peddle Kremlin propaganda? Peter Byström, who is second on AfD's candidate list for the European Parliament elections in June, denies the allegations he took money to spread pro-Russian information. AfD's co-chairperson Tino Trupala addressed the allegations on Tuesday in the German Parliament.
Also zum allererst, wir haben uns gestern dazu bereits ausführlich geäußert, was die Causa Byström angeht. Das ist seine persönliche Meinung, die er dazu hat. Ich möchte vielleicht was Grundsätzliches sagen dazu, und das habe ich gestern auch schon getan, dass wir grundsätzlich nicht dulden, dass ein Abgeordneter sich seine Position durch Geld hier beeinflussen lässt. Das ist schon mal Punkt 1. Nichtsdestotrotz gilt auch für Peter Byström die Unschuldsvermutung. Wir reden von Verdächtigungen, von Behauptungen. Es liegen uns aktuell keine Belege und Beweise vor. Von daher gilt die Unschuldsvermutung und Stand heute gilt für uns das Wort von Peter Byström in diesem Fall mehr.
According to reports, the Czech authorities are in possession of the purportedly incriminating recordings but don't plan to release them for the time being. Byström says he never took any money from pro-Russian network Voice of Europe and says claims he took €25,000 a part of a defamation campaign. The AfD is currently polling in second place in Germany despite recently losing support following a secret meeting during which forced deportations were discussed. Concerns are mounting over Moscow's influence in the upcoming European elections.
MEPs are demanding an urgent inquiry into the scandal following allegations that political candidates from 6 EU member states have been paid to push pro-Kremlin propaganda. Liv Stroud in Berlin for Euronews.
The European Commission has launched a probe into wind farm developments across Europe. There are concerns that state subsidies are allowing Chinese producers to undercut domestic turbine manufacturers as the bloc looks to accelerate its clean energy transition.
We have investigated suspicious bids in public tenders for trains in Bulgaria, resulting in a Chinese state-owned company withdrawing its bids from this tender. Just last week, we opened investigations into bids by Chinese companies that may unduly have been advantaged in public tenders for solar panels in Romania.
Domestic wind turbine producers have long been urging EU leaders to protect them from unfair overseas competition. The bloc's comments come 6 months after EU trade officials launched a similar anti-subsidy investigation into the import of battery electric vehicles from China.
Poverty has many faces, but women are disproportionately affected. Like 54-year-old Genevieve Baert, who lives in Belgium. The loss of her family business when she was a teenager and caring for her 5 children as a single mother pushed her into poverty. Genevieve regrets that poverty has affected her children's lives.
J'ai très mal vécu l'école parce qu'il y a énormément de discrimination par rapport aux enfants précaires. Enfin, l'image des parents est très mal vue, alors que voilà. Et donc ça marque dans l'enfance aussi des marques, des trucs indélébiles qui restent ancrés dans la personne, qui l'empêchent parfois d'évoluer parce que la précarité lui a montré de lui qu'il n'était pas capable, alors que c'est pas du tout ça. Et donc ça abîme énormément les enfants à la base.
According to Eurostat, 22% of the European population was at risk of poverty or social exclusion in 2022, a figure that remains stable. In Romania, the figure is as high as 34.4%. The European Anti-Poverty Network's most recent report points out that female poverty worsened by low wages and caring for dependents. This also pushes women to accept temporary or part-time contracts. Carlos Socias, the network's president, says the measures to close the gender pay gap must go further.
un elemento importante es la fiscalidad de las familias monoparentales, porque en más de un 80% esas familias son monomarentales, son de mujeres con hijos a cargo. Ahí hay que mirarlo. Ahí las políticas fiscales y las políticas de conciliación son básicas, son esenciales, ¿no?, para poder actuar sobre ellas. Y desde luego es necesario unas políticas fiscales que también permitan ciertos impuestos negativos de apoyos a las familias en mayor situación de vulnerabilidad.
The report also warns that rising house prices and high inflation has affected the vulnerable, including young people and those with lower levels of education, the hardest.
"14 commitments to ensure transparent and fair European elections." Almost all the political parties in the European Parliament signed a code of conduct for the upcoming continental elections. The Vice President of the European Commission says all the tools are needed to strengthen public confidence in Europe's political institutions, which have been hit in recent months by corruption scandals favouring foreign interests, such as Qatargate and Russiagate.
These scandals which you mentioned really created high level of distrust. Something is rotten in Brussels. I heard it from many places. The people don't differentiate that it was the European Parliament and individual people there. I think that we have to proactively do something against this feeling of people that, it makes no sense to go to elect because the system is dirty. The system is not dirty.
Those parties who have signed a code of conduct pledge not to produce, use, or disseminate misleading content generated, for example, by artificial intelligence. Parties must also refrain from using political advertising sponsored by undeclared interests. In the Commission's view, the pitfalls encountered in previous European elections should be avoided.
I think that it's badly needed because in the previous elections we already saw some hidden manipulation which created question marks over the fairness of the elections. We don't have such a luxury to decrease the trust of people in elections.
The far-right group Identity and Democracy has not signed the text, but says it wants to join the Code of Conduct for the European elections.
The arrest of Augusto Ott, a former intelligence officer, on March 29th, has revealed evidence of Russian infiltration in Austria. His arrest warrant, obtained by Associated Press, alleges that Otto handed over phone data of former high-ranking Austrian officials to Russian intelligence. Otto is believed to have collaborated with Jan Marsalek, who is wanted in Austria on suspicion of fraud.
Wenn es sich so zugetragen hat, und davon gehen wir jetzt mal aus, hat das natürlich eine massive Einwirkung auf die Sicherheit der Republik Österreich, aber auch natürlich die Sicherheit von partnerschaftlichen Institutionen und Diensten, die hier auch mit an der Kette hängen, wenn zum Beispiel Informationen von einem befreundeten Nachrichtendienst hier in dieser Datensammlung drinnen sind, hat das auch Implikationen auf eben die Sicherheit von Drittstaaten.
Marsalek was the CEO of Wirecard, a German payment company that collapsed after its executives were involved in criminal proceedings.
Die Frage ist, wer hat denn ein Interesse an diesen Daten? Gibt es da vielleicht rechtsextreme Netzwerke mit Verbindungen zu den Behörden, die da Interesse an Daten haben könnten? Und das ist dann auf jeden Fall eine große Gefährdung für mich als aktive Antifaschistin und für alle Personen, die da abgefragt wurden.
The Austrian Chancellor convened a meeting of the National Security Council in response.
British troops have joined French guards at the Élysée Palace in Paris to celebrate 120 years of Entente Cordiale. The 1904 agreement settled disputes between the rival powers, paving the way for their alliance against Germany in World War I. For the first time, foreign troops paraded at the French president's official residence. French President Emmanuel Macron spoke with UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak by video conference to mark the occasion.
have this short ceremony in order.
French and British troops participated in the changing of the guard ceremony outside Buckingham Palace, which was mirrored at a parallel ceremony at Élysée Palace. Britain and France said the occasion is part of a wider program to celebrate the two countries' military and diplomatic ties.
Italian police have arrested a Tajik national at an airport in Rome, accusing him of being an active member of the Islamic State. The suspect, who is 32, arrived on a flight from the Netherlands. He was the subject of an international arrest warrant after allegedly fighting for the terror group in Syria in 2014. The man, arrested as part of a joint operation, was described as a fugitive who has used numerous aliases, birth dates and nationalities, including from Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan and Ukraine. Russians in the city of Orsk held a rare protest on Monday to call for compensation after a dam collapsed and flooded the Orenburg region near the Kazakhstan border. Protests are an unusual sight in Russia amid a crackdown on dissent following Russian President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Hundreds gathered in front of the administrative building in Orsk, Russian state news agency TASS said. Following the protests, TASS reported that the region's governor promised compensation payments of approximately €100 per month for 6 months to people forced out of their homes. The flood-hit area is being evacuated as water levels continue to rise.